Hey guys, Amanda from southernbride.co.nz here. I'm just quickly going to go over how you create your wedding budget. So step one to figuring out what your big day is going to cost is listing out all the aspects of your wedding. So for example, your ceremony, the plans you might have for your ceremony might include venue hire, a celebrant, marriage license, afternoon tea afterwards, transport to the ceremony, maybe transport for your guests between the ceremony and the reception, decorating the place, hiring a PA system. So brainstorm all those things that you might need for your ceremony, and then put this on like a piece of paper, or if you want to be techie, you could use an Excel spreadsheet or something. We have a template available on southernbride.co.nz with all this sort of stuff listed out that you can flesh out yourself as well. It doesn't really matter sort of the technical way of how you do it, it's just important that you do it at all. Next step, figure out some really rough figures for each item, and some of that might be a bit of guesswork. You might use my budget on southernbride.co.nz/budget. You might use that to figure out sort of roughly what some things might cost. And for both these steps, it's a really good idea to do it in conjunction with your partner, and that's because you can start having some discussions about what priorities you have for your wedding day. And it's quite hard if you're going to your partner and saying, by the way, it's going to cost me $500 for this, and they'll flip out thinking it's expensive, and then you have to go through a whole discussion about why it's the amount it is. If you're both doing this right from the get-go together, then it makes things a lot easier. The next step is figuring out how realistic your costs are and fleshing out those figures. So when you get engaged, chances are you don't know how much things cost, and that's okay, because how many times have you organised a big party where you pay for all the food and drink and decorate everything and dress yourself really nicely and then dress some of your friends really nicely? It's rare. So chances are you are going to be pretty unrealistic with some of your figures. You can't feed people a 3-course meal for $10 a pop. But that's what this step's about, just educating yourself on how much things cost, and you can start getting an idea of how much the wedding that you want will actually cost. And then that sort of leads into step 4, which is prioritising and making some tough decisions on the wedding you can afford. And this is why it's really good to be doing this with your partner, because you guys can have this conversation with all the knowledge. You know, both of you guys will be on the same page. So when I talk about priorities, for example, my husband and I really were obsessed with having awesome food and also really awesome entertainment. And so we ended up spending a lot on our singer, a lot more than we should have, especially. But that was a priority to us. So it didn't matter that the wedding budget planner or other websites said you should only spend a certain percentage of your budget on things. For us, we were happy to break the budget for that. But that comes at a cost, and we to be able to afford that, I only had 2 bridesmaids, and my husband only had 2 groomsmen. So that's the stuff that you weigh up, and that's what I mean about prioritising with the budget stuff. Other things you could do, you don't have to X bridesmaids. You can maybe reduce your guest list. If it's 200 people, can you get away with 150 or 120 or 80? you could wait another year. So instead of getting married in 1 year's time, could you get married in 18 months or 2 years' time, and you can still have the wedding you want, but you've got that extra amount of time to save for it. The reason it's so important to do this at the start is because it's a lot easier to make these decisions and put them into action now than when a venue deposit has already been paid, when you've already sent out save the dates, and when people have got their travel plans all organised. So the last step is sticking to your budget, and this means tracking your spending and being smart with your planning. I've got the wedding budget planner that we developed with I developed with Megan from She Said Yes, and it's an Excel spreadsheet. You pop your figure in, and then it gives you sort of an estimated figure for each aspect, and then you can go along and track the spend and what you've budgeted, the deposits you've paid, the balance due, and then that way you've got it all in one place, and you can sort of take that out. You don't have to worry about keeping track of that in your head. Get it out of your head. Also, when you're spending the money, this is when the checklist comes in that I've talked about earlier. Doing things one at a time and doing them in the right order is a good way of not wasting money, because if you go ahead and get your wedding invitations printed 18 months out, and then 6 months before the wedding you have to change the ceremony time, well, then you're going to need to get those invitations reprinted, and it's a waste of money. So doing things when you should be doing them and not getting too far ahead of yourself is another way of saving some money and keeping that budget in check. Have I got anything else to cover off? I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, southernbride.co.nz/budget, that will give you an idea of what I spent and also a good structure, and southernbride.co.nz/to-do, that will give you a good checklist of things that you should be doing and when you should be doing them. So I will catch you later. Thank you for listening.